Hello and welcome to Suddenly Single. You'll notice I'm on my own today, but not totally on my own. I've got the amazing journalist Ingrid Tarrant with me. Now, she has been twice married, famously to Chris, and we are going to talk about a lot of things, all of her marriages and whether she's dating now, and about her pot-bellied pigs, which I'm really interested in. So, Ingrid.
Yes.
Hello.
What an intro.
Lovely to see you.
And you, Siobhan.
So, what I want to know is right now, because we'll work backwards to what's happened in the past. Are you dating?
Nope.
And do you want to date?
Nope.
And why do you think that is? Because you're still a really attractive, vibrant, brilliant journalist, always on TV.
Well, do you know, Siobhan, thank you for the compliments. I really enjoy being a singleton, and I've always been very good on my own. Always, always, always. So it doesn't worry me. It doesn't bother me. It's not that I'm single and I'm not going to date full stop. But nobody has ever come my way that I'm remotely interested in. And I think, honestly, I do think I have like this little aura around me. Don't touch, don't come near me and everything. I've got lots of friends, lots of male friends. Really good friends, completely platonic relationships, some gay, some heterosexual, and that's absolutely fine. I've got a nice social life, very nice social life.
So you don't feel lonely?
Not at all.
You're obviously at the age like me where we have empty nest syndrome.
I like that.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
You are allowed to say
Yeah.
that, Ingrid.
Yes.
Well done. But you did for a while. I mean, you said something that really made me laugh after you split from Chris. You said you preferred the company of your pot-bellied pigs. Should we talk about your love of animals?
Well, yes. I don't know if I actually said that, but I think the press did a
Well,
little
the
top
Daily Mail
spin
said
on it.
that.
Yeah, I think that was their little dramatic, not dramatic license, their license to kind of like expand or whatever. But yes, they weren't wrong.
And you let the pigs sleep with you?
Well, I would, actually. They're incredibly clean before anybody just says, oh, God, what a disgusting woman. They are so hygienic. You have no idea. Very domesticated. That if they poo or wee, they will do it miles from where they sleep or where they romp. They're unbelievable. But yes, I would. I would have let them sleep in my bed. But the only thing is, getting up the stairs was fine. Coming down the stairs was not. So it was a very complicated way of getting... it was only one, actually, George, the youngest one. He was the one that sort of climbed up the stairs a couple of times, just like eager to get into bed with me.
Oh, bless him. So you were a journalist. You were tell me if I've got this wrong. Was it the associate editor of features on... TVAM.
I was TVAM, yes. So I was on the news desk at TVAM. Before that, so actually I trained as a fashion designer. So I was in fashion. I had my own business. I had my own boutique. I wholesaled, exported as well. It was really, really brilliant. And then I got divorced, and I thought there's too much dependent on me. If I have a bad collection, that's it. How will I service a mortgage? How will I do this? How will I do that? And I had a child at the time, and I thought it's just too much. I need to have a regular income. So I then did some freelance work at ITN.
Okay.
And it was a coincidence how that happened, but it was a beautiful, it was like sliding doors.
Okay.
And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I worked around the building, then got to the newsroom, and I thought, I've arrived. This is it was just fantastic. And then TVAM was starting. So I thought, that sounds interesting. So I applied for a job on the news desk and got it.
And this where you met
before
Chris,
we went on.
It
is.
Yes.
It is, actually. Well, he had joined TVM to do a summertime special. I didn't know anything about this because I was in Norway at the time. I go there every summer.
Because just to explain to people that don't know, you're half Norwegian, quarter French and quarter German, aren't you? So there's really no English.
No English at all, apart from the fact that I was born here. So I came back from my summer holidays and I was doing the overnight shift. So the first night of doing the overnight is actually quite hard because you've been up all day. You can't throw yourself to bed when you slept a normal night, and then you sleep during the day. You just can't do it. So you're crashing overnight as well. And I just remember saying, oh gosh, it's about 6 in the morning or something rather, and it's like falling asleep on the news desk. But I think we started going on air at 6:30 or something. Anyway, I was woken up. There this awful noise. It's like fake. It was just such a fake noise. And I looked up at the monitor and I saw this person lying on the sand on his back, and this baby elephant about to step over, and he was feigning sort of like fear that the elephant was going to tread on him. And I just thought, oh God, how pathetic. And I went, oh, who is that prat? And they said, Chris Tarrant. And I went, who's Chris Tarrant? I'd never heard of him. But I'm not I've never been huge TV,
watcher or radio listener.
Yeah. Radio, yes, depends what I'm doing, really, if I'm in the car or sort of something like that. But I wasn't mad about TV. I'd watch it sort of like probably more in the evening and stuff. Anyway, I hadn't got a clue who he was. But later on in life, I said to Chris, well, I'd never saw Tiswas. And I said, what was on the other side? And he said, multicolour swap shop with Noel Edmonds.
Yes.
And I went, oh, I remember that. So I must have watched that. I must have chosen that
over Chris's programme.
So I probably always thought that was all a bit sort of prattish and silly at the time.
So what did you speak after watching him being trod on by an elephant?
No. So I didn't see him because then he was just doing it. He was all location. And then there was a fabulous girl, Jenny Barnett. I don't know if you know her.
I do, yeah. She went on to radio, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she was super duper. She used to do post bag. I think it was just called post bag. So she had to reply to the audience's comments about things that they had seen, features or comments or whatever. And it was, it could be critical or it could be sort of, praising. And she went on holiday and Chris took over from doing the post bag. And Jenny said to Chris, go to Ingrid because she will know what that person is talking about, because I can work out if I was on shift that day, and if I was, I'll remember the story and I can go to the script and say what time it was on, so they wouldn't have to look through hours and hours of tapes.
Okay.
So that's how we began talking. And I had a bet with him about the colour of lobsters. Because I know I'm going off on such a tangent, aren't I?
No.
But one of the audiences had written in something, and he was saying this was the thing, and where will I find that to put this in context? And I said, oh yeah, I know exactly where that is. And I said, well, so whatever it was, I can't remember, but it obviously was something to do with lobster. And I said, well, Maggie Thatcher said, you can, you will never, I will always be a true blue. You can never turn me red. You can't boil me and turn me red like a lobster or something other. And I just made that sort of like comment.
Yeah.
And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, because a lobster is black when you first get it, but when you've boiled it, it goes
red,
kind of reddish orange.
Pink, yeah.
No, don't be ridiculous. So I phoned up, what is it called? Smithfields. I won't be.
Yes. So Smithfields.
And I said,
market.
I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to pass you over to the person. This is the question. As soon as before you answer, can I just? So he said, yes, that's right. So I said, right, you owe me £20. Took ages to get it from him, but I did.
So you didn't say, can you buy me a drink?
No.
How did he first ask you out then? Can you remember your first date?
Yes, because it wasn't a date, actually. It was kind of, it evolved. There was nothing, there wasn't, I don't think either of us had an agenda. I certainly didn't. And I don't think he did either, actually, but it just kind of evolved. But something had been cancelled that he was supposed to do, and therefore he was at a loose end, and I was the one that had to tell him, sorry, that's now not going to happen. The schedule's sort of like changed. So now he was sort of like available. So it's like, oh, do you want to have a drink, and whatever. And that was that. But yeah, it was a slow burner.
It was a slow burner. So you never set eyes on him and thought that's the one for me?
No.
No.
I've never done that.
Have you never?
Never.
Never had the
No.
lightning bolt?
No.
Oh, I have. I've walked into a studio and thought, you're for me.
Oh,
For sure. Well, I spent 17 years with him, but it didn't work
Oh,
out. Unfortunately.
17 years.
Yeah.
That's respectable, though.
And that was a respectable
Length of time,
respectable go at it. But
Yes.
I have. And
Gosh. And
Yeah.
did he feel the same back?
I
Was
don't
that-
think so.
Oh.
I don't think so.
How
It took him about
interesting.
2 years to get round to saying, would you like to have a glass?
Oh, how interesting. Do you know, relationships are so interesting.
It was a hard one.
Oh.
A tough dog to keep on the porch and ultimately didn't. But there you go.
Oh, but no,
There you go.
17 years.
Yeah,
That's,
it wasn't bad. It wasn't
not
a bad
at
stab.
all.
So you and Chris, how long then before you married?
I reckon it must have been 7 or 8 years.
So it was a really slow burn then. Did you move in
Yes.
together?
Yes, we moved in together. Again, I think more by accident, really, than design, because he then got a job at Capital Radio. He was doing an early breakfast show. No, it must have been when he was doing the weekday.
Okay.
Must have been doing that. And he lived in Warwickshire, but it was too early for him to commute every day down from Warwickshire. And there were no trains, so driving train out of the question. But I was looking for somewhere to buy.
Okay.
Because after I first divorced, I ended up living with my parents. That is a whole other story. But anyway, but now I was just going to buy somewhere.
Okay.
And he said, if I'm buying somewhere, can he get involved? I'm very good at buying a dump, doing it up and flogging it.
Oh,
I made a
okay.
huge amount of money that way.
Okay.
And so there was a need for him to have somewhere in London, but he didn't really have the money to afford it. And so it was like, okay, well, if we can buy him forces, that's absolutely fine. We'll do that. So again, it wasn't sort of like, oh, we've got to live together. But it just fitted in nicely.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it was strange. It evolved. Really, it evolved.
And you told me before that Chris was quite a shy guy.
Yes, he was modest. He was not too confident, really, I would say.
Yeah. So what do you think changed then? The fame?
Fame,
The ultimate
yeah,
fame?
fame
Because
and
he became
fortune.
huge, didn't
Yes,
he?
he
was
did.
on every radio station, every TV channel you
Yeah.
put on.
Yeah.
You think that did have
Definitely,
an effect?
definitely,
Yeah.
fame and fortune. I did say to him once, I said, I feel I'm losing you. Your feet are going a bit up the ground. It's going a bit to
Yeah.
your head. I don't want to lose you. Can I pull you back
Aw.
down? Yeah.
That is
But,
sad, actually.
It was sad.
Did you? So, I mean, you've documented this. So, this is also. He'd been cheating for 7 years by the time you found out.
Well, as far as we know. we
Well,
don't
as far
know.
as you know,
Yeah.
that's what you think. And certainly did have somebody else when you split up. Was that a surprise to you? Did you see any signs of that coming?
No,
None at all.
no. And people do not believe me.
I do
But-
believe you because I
Oh,
didn't see
good.
any signs either, and I was cheated on allegedly for 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
isn't
did
it
because I wasn't
strong?
looking. So
No. Some people do because perhaps they're not the
Yeah.
cheater isn't being too subtle
yeah.
or too clever. Several years before I had confirmation by putting a private detective on him. But
Yes.
several years before, I thought something's not right. And I said to him, sort of, I asked him outright, are you thinking of having an affair? Are you having an affair? Something's not right here and whatever. Oh, W. Dixon, of course not. And And I 100% believed him. And he said that I think it might have been at the beginning of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and everything. There's a lot riding on it. And as he said, if it goes all horribly wrong, it's the egg on his face, not the people behind the scenes. It's always the person who goes.
Yeah.
If it goes very right, then of course it's all
The glory
for him
for
as
them
well.
too, yeah.
And he was, getting quite nervous about it. And I thought, I understand that because I could see, even when he was going to, perhaps do an auction at some event or something, he would sort of be a little bit, you could see he was getting a little bit anxious, go to the loo, sort of like a bit, and,
Yeah.
drinking a little bit, sort of, and kind of, and that's what I mean about being sort of like a little bit shy, perhaps not lacking sort of too much or lacking full confidence as such. So I thought, well, yeah, that makes absolute sense. That really makes sense. And then years later, I asked him, again, and it's like, oh, not this old chestnut again. Well, it's hardly like been banging on about it. I did ask once before. And I just didn't believe him when he said no. And because something was telling me that he's lying.
Yeah.
And I thought the only way that I can really, really find out is I'm going to put a private detective on him. And that's what I did.
Liz Jones did that. I had Liz Jones in recently.
Oh, did
and
she?
She did that. She put a private detective on her boyfriend because she didn't believe him. So was it worth the money? And
Yes.
what did you find out? How quickly did you find out? What did they show you?
Well, actually, I sacked the the original private detective without him knowing. Because they weren't doing their job properly. So I had his car, fitted with, this is the first time this is actually coming out. So I had to get the car hot wired, or I don't know if you call that's the right terminology.
Is it tracker?
Yeah, tracker. That would run off the car and not battery, so it would always be fully charged. But I had to have an excuse to get his car for the day and to have it fitted. And so I asked to borrow it, and it was like, why? And I said, because I need to get some straw for the rabbit or the guinea pig or whatever it was from the stables. And it was like, well, what's wrong with yours? Because I've always had convertible cars. I said, what's, wrong with yours? You can stick it in the back. And I said, yeah, but by the time I get back, all the straw will have come out, and, sort of like, I just need it. Anyway, it took them so long to wire it because he had just had installed those video, what do you call them, screens in the back of the headrest for the kids sitting in the back.
The
and
tellies,
he had
the tiny tellies.
And then he had that and CD players and this, and it was like a real mess of wires and everything. They really sort of like struggled with it. Anyway, he did that, but then he had another car, but I bought a burner phone.
And, well done.
Yeah, but you had to keep charging that up. And I mean, at the time, there were moments at the time when I just thought, this is insane, because I would be shimmying across the floor. And I just thought, I would do really well in the army here, because I'm kind of like, shuffling on, being really, really sort of like quiet, to get the keys, to go back out, to go to the car, to open it up, get the phone out, charge it. I had so many sleepless nights because I had to do it while he was asleep and before he woke up early in the morning. So I had like a little window of opportunity to keep charging up that phone.
So from the phone, what were you doing? You could read his messages? You could
I could track him.
Where he'd gone.
Where he'd gone. But then the first...
so you didn't really need a private detective, did you?
No, I did really. No, I did really, because then they could follow. Because then they knew where to go.
Okay.
And everything. I couldn't do that. And then I was away as well. I was abroad. And anyway, they weren't doing very well because I knew sort of like what was going on. And I said, right, this is what's going to happen at this sort of like time, because I had a housekeeper at home as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I just asked him, what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going fishing. I'll be leaving at such and such a time. Oh, where are you going fishing? Oh, I'm going down to wherever it is. So I think, well, he'll have to turn right coming out of the drive. Oh, if he's going there, he'll turn left. So I would then phone, give them the heads up, and they missed him. And I just thought, oh, for God's sake. So I got rid of them, but they didn't know. And then I got another one, and then I said, but I need photographs. And isn't it silly? Because I wasn't being in denial, but I just, at the same time, I just thought...
It's devastating.
Yes. Is this really, really happening?
Yeah.
Is this happening? I would never have thought it.
No.
Call me naive. Maybe it's an arrogant sort of thing. It certainly wasn't. But I just thought, I am so surprised. So I just thought, I actually have to have a photograph. So it's like, there is no mistake here,
Yeah.
So that was that. There was a private detective that contacted me, not any of the ones that I used afterwards, I think via my agent, and said I did the best favour to him, because suddenly it opened up, it reminded people, well, of course, why don't you do that? That is the way. If you're not sure, just get a private detective onto them.
Do you know what? If I ever am in that position again, I think it's really wise advice. It's awful advice, but you do start to think you're going mad.
But it stops you from going mad, because the thing is, because he would have convinced me that I was just imagining things.
Yeah.
And did try to. Just said, I should put myself into the Priory. I'm this, I'm that, and the other. No, it was really. So I just thought, well, if I was a weaker person than I am. I know myself so well, and I thanked my mother. Sadly, my father had already died by then. I said, thank you. Thank you for bringing me up the way that you did, because you brought me up to know that I'm not marvellous. We've all got our faults, you know, I'm a very real person. I really know who I am. But I think if I hadn't, I'd just thought, oh my God, what's the matter with me? And it was a sort of like, you know, sort of perimenopausal and, you know, and stuff like that. You could
Wrong
blame
age.
yourself
Yeah.
for everything and make it your fault one way or another. But I just knew, I just thought, I'm not going mad. I'm a completely sane person. Exactly my...
And you made him tell the children, didn't you?
Yes, because I didn't want them to see it coming out of my mouth, because that's what they would remember. And every time they saw me and saw me talk, they might sort of just kind of be reminded of if I was telling them off about something or having to tell them something sad, it might then sort of connect with that. That's probably too deep thinking, but no, he had to take ownership of it. He had to face it. You know, he can't run away from it. He has to see what he's done.
Yeah, because they were 14 and 17 at the time, weren't they?
Well, Toby was, I think 14. Then there was, so Sammy would have been then 17, and then Fear would have been 21, and Dexter would have been 25, something like that.
Yeah. And they all considered Chris as their dad?
Yes.
They did?
Yeah, they called him Dad.
Oh, they did?
Dexter and Fear called him Dad.
They did, yeah. Because you were married before, weren't you?
Yes.
And the first two children were by your first
by
husband?
his first husband, yeah.
Yeah, but they were very tiny when you and Chris got together.
Well, Fear was 10 months old.
Oh, wow.
And I left my first husband when she was 4 months old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is their relationship with him like now?
Fine. It wasn't to begin with. You know, it took them time to,
to get over it.
Get over it, yeah.
Yeah.
And, yes, but no, it's fine. They see him, you know, sort of it's...
And since then, have you had any dates? Have you been on any dates? Have you been set up on any dates? No?
Oh, I've got one friend. Honestly, I said to her, you should have been born Indian, and it would have been like a little bit more normal then, because she was doing this sort of like, you know, I've got sort of somebody lined up, you know, sort of like with the arranged sort of thing. And I said, please stop doing this. Please, please, please. You should have dinner parties and be, it's going to be this and that. And it's just, you know, just like informal. And I said, oh, no. Who's this man that you've put me next to, you know, and stuff like that. And I thought, it doesn't work. And I said, and she does know me so well. And I said, but it's just like any man that seems to be single saying, she'll do, he'll do, you know, put them together. No, it doesn't work like that. So, yes, I've had people trying to sort of set me up.
I know you've said you're happy being single, but do you think you might ever like to meet someone else? I mean, have you... That was a bit of a nose.
Did my facial expression say it all?
You did Tabitha me there.
Oh, sorry.
Bewitched.
No. It's so difficult to say. As it stands, I can't imagine sharing my life or home with someone.
But you don't have to. You could have someone who's part-time.
Yes, I could as well. But then I think, I don't know. I'm not a selfish person at all. Not at all. But I think I've got so used to... They would almost have to be exactly me. You know, honestly.
I want to date myself.
Yes,
if there is a male Ingrid out there, can you please let us know?
Because I'm really sporty. I love travel. I love adventure. I'm not frightened of things. I always try new experiences. All those things. There's not many people that really like all those things that I just go, this is on my right thing. And then, of course, there's the children. Not that it matters because my children are, you know, off and out the way and stuff like that. But, you know, Christmas and birthdays and weddings and this and that. And, you know, sort of like, would anybody really want to get involved with, like, you know, my 4 children and their kids?
Of course they would. Of course they would. And you're happy being celibate?
Yes, I don't think about it.
I
actually don't think about it.
Do you know, I think there is a truth to that. I think women can just switch off.
Yeah. Do you know, somebody asked me early on, and I have to say, I just sort of like think, crumbs, you know, this is going to be tough. And then I started to think about it, and this is how I see it, and I think this is exactly how the body works. You know the expression "sex starved." You know, I
Yeah.
just thought, oh God, I'm going to be sex starved. It's going to be just terrible.
Be a famine.
Yes, but you know, it's like food. If I start the day with breakfast, I will be hungry I will want to eat all day long. If for any reason I have to skip breakfast, and it often happens that, you know, I haven't got time for breakfast, I haven't got time for lunch. The first time I might eat might be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I've gone through the hunger pangs. Mm-hmm. I've gone through that at breakfast time, going, because I always have breakfast. I love breakfast. It's only little, but nothing, not the big thing one, not, you know, every day. But if you crash those, you stop feeling hungry. And I think it's like that. If you're not having food, it's like sex. If you're not having sex, you go through that and then you don't notice. You've gone through the sex-starved hunger pangs, if you like.
Okay.
And then nothing. I don't know. Perhaps that's ridiculous. But anyway.
No, I mean,
but I don't miss it at all.
Okay.
And that's another thing. Do I really want to get back into all of that with another man? I don't know that I do either.
Now, we've also got with us today my lovely friend for about the last 25 years, Rachel Gold.
Yeah, I'm coming up.
I've just brought in my lovely friend of about 25 years now, Rachel Gold, who's had to dress me, try and teach me mindfulness, which I'm absolutely useless at because I'm scatterbrain brain.
Are you looking, by the way?
What, for a man?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, actually, because I met one very recently, about a week ago. That's terrible, isn't it? But I quite like him.
Oh,
So,
sort of like
just hold
engineered
this,
or just purely by accident, coincidence?
In a bar.
In a bar?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know him or know anybody that knew him?
No.
Oh. Did you go up to him or did he come up to you?
We were sitting on the same table. He was having a cup of tea and I was having a cup of coffee and some Smarties.
Who had the Smarties, him or you?
No, they served them in on
That
bar
sounds
one. They
romantic.
served your tea
Yeah,
and coffee with
Smarties.
Smarties. So yeah.
And was he at the table first and you joined him, or were you sitting
the
there
other way
first and he?
round. The other way round.
Oh. So he obviously had an eye on you and then just came over.
Well, of course. Anyway. So yeah, let's watch this space. So he'll probably be gone in about 2 weeks. That's often the way, easy come, easy go.
Things
So
that
challenge
he wasn't looking
Rachel.
for.
Find Ingrid somebody suitable.
I don't think she's looking.
She's. Do you
don't
think
know
she's
whether
fine as
she's
she is? She
looking.
shouldn't. She doesn't need to look.
I really don't think Ingrid's looking. I think she's so self-contained and stable. She knows what she wants already.
Yeah.
I mean, one could say, if you're looking at it on paper, if I hadn't met you here today, if you're looking on paper, you could say, well, Ingrid's had hurt, you know, and maybe she's been frozen in time where the hurt was, and so therefore is somewhat reticent about going into it again, because, just in case something like that happens again.
I'm not worried
but
about
I don't
that.
think it's true.
Because
I
it is
don't think
painful.
it's
Of course,
true.
it's painful at
Yeah.
the time, and it's like, well, okay, fine. So,
Yeah.
like, move on.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I'm
that's my
very
point.
much like this,
That's
you know,
my point.
sort of-
I don't think you are like that. I mean, one would say if I hadn't have met you and it was on paper, but I don't think everyone has to find someone. If you've got a wonderful social life, you've got great friends, you love your life, you've got your little pigs who you love, you've got your kids
All
and
my
all
animals,
sorts of
my
things.
horse
Yeah, we
and
don't
cats
all
and
have to.
I've got a
many
menagerie.
animals have you got? A
Well, at
menagerie?
one point there were 19. I had sort of like 2
Wow.
horses from the biggest, 2 horses, 3 pigs, 3 dogs, 3 cats.
Fabulous.
You're not in a flat then,
Menagerie.
Ingrid.
Ducks, quails,
Yeah. Fabulous.
whatever, chickens. So I've now got 9 chickens that I'm rearing them. I am going to get some pigs. I'm going to see some in a few weeks.
Oh,
I've got 1 horse left.
like
They've
the
all
good life at
died.
your
Oh,
place.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the runner beans and everything.
Nice, nice, very good. So we have a new game today.
Oh,
Ooh.
love
I
games.
like
It's
that
called
box.
the Suddenly Single Honesty Box.
Okay.
Oh.
Now we're not going to leave you hanging.
Okay.
You take a question.
Which one do you want me to take?
It doesn't matter.
I've got to take the neat-looking one.
Ingrid, you go first because you're the guest.
Okay then, thank you. How much does dress sense matter?
Well, you are an ex-fashion designer.
I am.
So, and look at you. You are. I asked her where she got her shoes. I want that
Yeah,
shirt.
stylish.
She's very stylish. I think it matters to you, does it?
It does to me. Is this mattered for me
if you-
personally and everyone else?
If you were going on a date, so for example, me, it doesn't bother me at all. I actually find someone who's got the most appalling corduroy trousers in bright yellow, odd socks, because I know they're going to be an
raspberry
absolute hoot.
suede shoes.
I just
Right,
know they're going to be
okay.
a laugh.
Yes, yeah, no, that is
So
true.
you
yeah.
know, that's very sweeping generalisation.
Okay.
But I would imagine if you turned up and someone was incorrectly dressed or not wearing the right thing. I mean,
Oh, from that point of view.
Yeah.
Oh, so not just
not
for me.
you. If you were having a date.
Oh, it depends. It depends if they can carry it off. Some people
Well, no
can't.
one can really carry off a football T-shirt in nylon, can they?
No.
I mean, let's be honest.
No,
Chelsea.
Yes.
and actually, and I have to say, I do really. This is the one thing I really detest is joggers
Oh, grey.
that are elasticated. Don't care what
Grey.
colour.
Oh,
Yes.
the
Elasticated.
Don't care
And
what colour.
trainers that are like
Yeah,
kind
dirty.
of on loose and
Yeah.
misshapen.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That would really, really put me off big time.
Yeah.
But then, if they had the best sense of humour on earth, you could see past that and just say, do you know, that's not a good look.
I think we should go shopping.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, you need a stylist. Okay, so, here's a question. What would your advice be to anyone who suspects their partner is cheating?
What would your advice be? We've had Ingrid's. Get the police.
Ask them.
You're a private detective. Well, you can go as
Ask
far as the
them.
police if you
Yeah.
like. Private
I
detective.
think ask them first and see how they respond, see what their body
They lie,
language
they rage.
is.
Oh.
Of course they're going to lie. We know they're going to lie.
Now,
yes,
funny enough, you say
yeah.
about body language. So, Sammy, one of my daughters, she was hooked on Jeremy Kyle. And she was watching it one day, and I came in and just happened to just like watch. You know how you do sort of like 5 minutes going, yeah. And it was about how you can tell if the
Yeah.
person's lying.
Yes,
So when you ask them a question where you want absolutely the truth, you look them in the eye.
yes.
If they
If they look to the left or yes,
whatever
or,
it
yeah,
is,
yeah.
one say if they can't look you sort of
Yes.
straight back in the eye, that's one thing. And the other thing is swallowing.
Yes.
It's
yes.
like swallow a bit, kind
Yeah.
of like looking at it
Yeah.
and swallowing.
Yes.
So when I asked Chris, having known this from with Sammy's, like from years before, going, that's interesting. You know, it's body language. I love all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A little bit about body language. And I thought, right, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to look him straight in the eye and see what happens. He looked me straight back in the eye and he said no, and he didn't swallow and he didn't lick his lips.
Ah,
And he was
Okay.
having an affair though. So, but you're right.
Yes, yeah.
You can. I would
Yeah.
say that. Ask the question. Check the body language.
yes.
You know, give them a chance.
Yeah. See if their feet are turned towards the door. Often it's if their feet are turned that way. That
And a
means they want to
suitcase
go out.
that's in their right hand.
But also, I think, look, unless you're the type of person who is naturally very jealous, if you have to ask the question, you must have already had a feeling.
Something.
Even though you can say, no,
That's
I
a
didn't
good
notice
point. That's a
anything.
really good
you
point.
must
Yes,
have had
why
a
are you
gut
asking the question
feeling,
then,
yeah.
otherwise?
Why
Yeah.
are you asking?
Yeah.
Because something's happened.
I think they pick arguments in retrospect. I think they do.
can, but, well, because they're
Because it's
comparing you with the
guilt.
other person.
And they want a row.
Yeah, but then commonly they'll
It's
have
justification.
lots of sex. Yeah, commonly they'll have lots of sex with their wife or their partner because they're already having it outside and they'll feel
yeah.
guilty, so they'll continue doing
Oh,
it
I'd
at home
vouch
as
for that
well.
one.
So that's the other thing. So it is quite tricky.
Complex, isn't it?
Very
Yes.
complex.
Yeah, very
I wonder
complex.
if men and women behave differently if it's the women having an affair to the men having the affair.
I think
wonder if
so.
the behavioural
Yes,
pattern
I
is
think
different.
so. Yes, because I think that women tend to, if a woman is having an affair, it's generally because she's trading in another direction. So therefore, she's not going to then continue having sex with the husband because her mind's already gone off elsewhere. Whereas I think with men, they're kind of trying not to break everyone's heart, trying to continue doing that. Sometimes they're trying to have both at the same time. So I think it's a little.
Why did they do that? Because ultimately it's worse.
I think it's because they're waiting for the woman, the other woman that they're having the affair with. They're waiting for her to then tell the wife, because then they don't feel quite so bad. They can shift the blame over to someone else.
And would they want though? I mean,
that's often what happens.
how would the woman that he's having an affair with know that he would want her to tell the wife? Because maybe he wouldn't, and then keep the two going forever.
I think
and
it's
a day.
subconscious. I think it's subconsciously they don't want to. I don't think that it's that they're thinking, oh, good, let's wait for her to do it. I think subconsciously they think, oh, crikey, this is all really difficult. How am I going to get out of it? So the other woman does them the favour of telling, because if you notice, a lot of this happens. You're having, you've got a husband and the wife, and then the wife is told by the girlfriend, or the girlfriend has told one of the wife's friends or something like that. It's quite a common occurrence that actually the man hasn't done it, the other woman
That
has.
was actually done to me.
And that's what happened to
It was
one of my
clearly
sisters
a burner
as well.
phone,
Yeah.
and I got this stream of texts. You
Yes.
must have known he's been cheating for 6 years.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah,
Whether it was
So-
her or a friend of hers or
Yeah.
somebody, but somebody knew.
yes.
Do you,
Yeah.
was that because I don't know why, but do you think he had promised, like so many men do?
That he
To
was going
leave.
to leave and he hadn't.
Yes, and he
Yes.
hadn't.
Yes,
and
I
it's
think
like,
that's
come
exactly
on,
what
are you
happened.
Yeah,
ever,
are you doing
ever?
it?
I think she
I've
forced
wasted
it.
Yes,
all
yes.
these years, and
Yeah.
are you ever actually going to do it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Try
So,
and-
so I'm going to tell her
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I don't. To be fair to her, I do not know that it was her, but somebody told me.
How were you told then? By letter? Oh, just
to my phone, just all of these texts.
Oh.
Oh, but what about
What, a
the
copy
number?
of all the
Could they
texts?
withhold the number then? Can you do that?
I mean, oh God, it was like 8 years ago now. I can't really remember. I think there probably was a number, but it wasn't a number.
Was it a copy of all the texts or something between the two of them?
No, it was a whole thing.
dear.
Yeah, it was just a whole list of.
I don't know. I
Very,
mean, it's-
It was
yeah.
very apparent that it was
Yeah.
true.
And then,
No.
as a result of that, because
Yeah.
of the betrayal, because it's strung you along all
Yeah.
these sort of like years,
Yeah.
did you say that is it? It's over, or
Yeah,
did he?
because I think the thing is, cheating. If somebody makes a mistake one night, and I'm not saying I could even get over that, I'll be really honest with you, because I think the trust is bust. But, when you're in a situation, which you were as well, where you know that people at their work knew, that some of your friends
Yeah.
knew, personally, for me, that's not a comebackable decision. I don't judge anybody who would.
Yeah.
Who would.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't either, because it's how they deal with it themselves, and some can
Yeah.
deal with it better than
Yeah.
others, and
Yeah.
It's a huge
But it's-
betrayal,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
When everyone
huge,
else
but then
knows.
Because
others
to
are
me,
silly.
what am I doing?
Yeah.
Putting my coat on every time you go out the door now? Because I no longer trust you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do that. But as you say, so many people just, okay, fine, we won't let this destroy the
it's
family,
not a
the
judgment.
unit, the whatever.
It's just,
I couldn't do it.
I think
Yeah.
it's different now, though, isn't it? Because before, women didn't have the autonomy that we do have
Well,
now.
also we
So
earn.
women, yeah, I mean, I remember my
we
mother
don't
stayed
need
with my
to
father. He
stay.
was a terrible cheat. Terrible. I mean, he had affairs all the time. And my mother, surprisingly, I remember when she was in her sort of late 80s, she said to me, which was, I wondered if she'd gone a little bit scatty then, she said, your poor father, those women, they used to chase after him. He was so handsome. It really wasn't his fault.
Oh, how absolutely delightful. Lovely way to look at it. Oh.
I mean, I guess you have to justify your life.
Different
don't you?
generation. Different
Yeah,
generation.
they thought about it
wasn't
differently,
You
and
know,
they
whereas-
didn't work the way
No,
that we did.
They didn't, and they
My
stayed
mum
at
didn't
home looking after
work.
the children.
No,
But
mine
mine
didn't
didn't.
either.
Mine
No.
didn't. So
No.
it was a different generation then.
Yeah, they
so-
were kind of trapped.
Yeah.
There are so many people I know today actually in that same thing, even though they do work,
Yes.
that they are trapped into the marriage
Yeah.
financially.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is awful
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be halved.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
lifestyle's going
Yeah.
to change. There's sort of like the social
Yeah.
standing, status, whatever. All those
Yes,
sort of like
yeah.
things are going to change. And I just think, to me, that's a shame.
That
It's
is
a
a
shame.
shame.
I think it's a shame.
It is. But it should
waste
be
of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if that's controlling your life, you will never have a life, a real life.
No, it's true. It's true. Well, also, I think it is quite difficult when you get divorced, because, particularly if you're in a group of people who are couples, because sometimes you don't get invited to the parties anymore. And you don't.
you don't.
You know,
Oh,
you
well, I
really
always
are.
did, but do you know,
You're
I'm
lucky because you've got good friends. But
I have,
sometimes,
and also
you
the
know.
thing is, I definitely don't come across as a predatory woman. I'm not saying that you do,
Yeah.
either of you two do.
But
Me dressing to go down to the park with my boots on and leggings.
But the thing is, perhaps it is that because it's good friends, and if
Yeah.
it's other people that are with a bunch of good friends, and maybe people that I haven't known before,
Yes.
I would not do. Once I was given the evils by this woman.
Yes.
And because I happened to be sitting next to her husband, it was just like in a sort of like a group, and it was just just plonked down, and he was just chatting to me, and I was chatting, and his wife was over there, and I just thought I can feel her eyes boring
Burning
into
into
me,
you.
yeah, and it was horrible. I thought I'm just not a predatory woman. Anyway, I went afterwards and I said, I'm not pleased. I've got a feeling,
Yes,
and everything like
Yeah.
this. And
So I think this is part of the reason that a lot of women who are in that situation, they don't leave the relationship because they are worried about being shunned, about what will they do
ostracised.
next. They lose their confidence anyway because they're with someone who they know is cheating on them. And that's not a nice thing.
yeah, can I tell you, ladies, if you feel like that, the best thing to do is get out and your confidence will come back.
That's
lot more
true.
than staying with them.
Yeah.
I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to leave it on
Do you
that
not
note.
have a question,
I do
though?
have a
Oh, yes,
question,
let's
but I
see.
don't think it's. I think we're all going to say roughly the same thing. Would you go out with somebody 20 years older?
oh yeah,
You would.
I'd go out with somebody 20 years younger as well.
So would I. 20
I
years
wouldn't-
younger.
I wouldn't
I've dipped
care.
I've
Age
dipped my
doesn't bother
toe
me.
in that
Might be
younger
900,
pool. It's all right.
I wouldn't like to go out with someone younger.
Why?
No. Well, my son's 42, and I
Okay.
feel if I went out with someone who
I
was,
wouldn't go-
that
I think
that
you have to have a
young, then
rule
I
that if
would-
you could have birthed them, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
go
no,
there.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
exactly
But
that.
younger is
Yeah.
fine.
I don't care about age. I
don't-
just don't care. As long as they are lovely,
Interesting.
energetic,
Yeah. Yeah.
got the love of life.
Yes, yeah.
It
they're
doesn't
fun.
matter. Age isn't
Yeah.
important.
Well,
Okay.
that's the answer to that question.
Yes.
So, Ingrid Tarrant, thank you for coming on
Wonderful.
Suddenly
Well,
Single.
thank you, Siobhan.
Yes.
So
And
really
I
lovely
hope
to
you'll
meet
come
you
back
and lovely to
again.
meet you too, Rachel.
Ingrid.